All right, what's up, everybody? I have today Kelly Yale, someone, I don't even know how many years I've known Kelly because it's been that many years, more than a decade. Maybe, has it been 2 decades, Kelly? I mean, I'm thinking maybe like 15 years since we've
It's
known each
right
other.
around 15. Yeah.
Yeah, long, long, long time. And she's just always been someone that knows where the puck is going in mortgage with a focus on technology. She's been one of the leading CRM consultants for many, many years. She knows firsthand how difficult it is to get loan officers to adopt a CRM, and she knows firsthand how hard it is to get mortgage executives to deploy technology in best practice ways. So I thought we're doing the halftime report. We've already put that out there. So there is a link to the halftime report down below with Kristen Messerly, the State of the Industry halftime report. But we are going to be updating it. And I have a feeling some quotes from today's call will be in there. So Kelly, welcome to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel.
Thanks so much, friend. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, I mean, a lot has changed since you and I caught up last time. I don't think we've talked since the news of Rocket took place. Tell me, I guess my first question for you is how big a deal is the Rocket moves this year?
I think it's exactly what I've been expecting, and I think a lot of us have been expecting. I think it's going to be game-changing, period. It's funny because I'm actually looking at it right now too. It's from a buyer perspective. So we're in the market for a house, and therefore I'm on the Redfin app brought to you by Rocket. And it is an extraordinary experience. If you've not downloaded the app yet, let me tell you, it's super cool. But everything I need to know to buy a house and everything I need to know to finance a house are in one great app for me. If I'm looking at a house and it's a terrible, like, nightmare mess, I can go to one of 6 or 7 filters to see what a redo in a certain, like, light will look like. And when you start thinking about, as you know, I am obsessed with the consumer experience of something, why would I not do my loan with Rocket? Here I am, I'm playing with an app, right? I'm able to sort of get the Pinterest out of me. But if I see something and I fall in love, my financing is right there. And they're not shoving it down my throat. They technically are shoving the Redfin app down my throat, but Rocket is very nicely, one click, we can get you pre-approved for this house. And so I find that the I guess we're not calling it a merger, but the coming together of those two companies is extraordinary. And, Rocket's definitely set the bar for where we're going for a long time. So this didn't surprise me.
Yeah. So I actually I've always admired the Redfin app. I've always felt that it was a better home search app, despite the fact that for home search I used Zillow a lot. But one thing that, and tell me if you agree with it. Well, I know you agree with this. I'd love for you to put your color around it. Is that mortgage companies and mortgage executives so often look at technology and they compare it to other mortgage tech, where we really, we're competing with Amazon, we're competing with Zillow, we're competing with Redfin, we're competing with Instagram, and the level of customer experience we need to deliver, we need to really look at, hey, how are we giving rates and fees to consumers? Are we doing it in a way that competes with an Amazon-esque experience? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you and I come from the same, and I would argue kind of uh, unique perspective when it comes to mortgage, because you and I have always been really focused on what we show the consumer, right? And when you had Mortgage Coach, it was like, look, let's show them the real numbers. Let's show them how to do this. My whole approach is always like, let's show them how to buy a house. And now we're in 2025 where I don't expect everything to be gamified yet, but at the same time, to your point, right? The sizzle of an Instagram, the excitement of seeing something and wanting to be part of it. We don't actually have a lot of that in mortgage. When you've done mortgage marketing for as long as I have, you're out of things to talk about. And you got to be thinking about, how do we get in front of this human being before they contact a realtor, before they're ready to buy this house? Because once they're ready, they're going to go in a few different directions. But if we have a relationship with them, we should be watching their behavior. We should understand kind of what's going on and be providing something much like what Redfin and Rocket are doing. But if you think of this, if you think about that partnership, just the juxtaposition of that partnership into, what are we going to do? We're going to buy Zillow leads, Lending Tree leads. Where are we going to get leads? How are we going to advertise somewhere? Are we going to advertise on Meta? But none of that has the sexiness of this kind of two-in-one experience, being able to kind of shop and do at the same time, which I think is gonna be a killer.
Yeah, agreed. So the bar, just like last time Rocket put a commercial that created the point of sale space. There was no such
Yeah.
thing as a blend, a simple
No.
nexus, which is now Encino. Click button, get mortgage. Rocket led the way,
Yeah.
and now they created this tip to tail home ownership platform, and I do think they've led the way. So let's most of my customers are either local referral based mortgage advisors or they're companies, executives that have a lot of local referral based mortgage executives that are loan officers that work for the company. So what's the Kelly Yale advice for them? Knowing where the puck is at, how do they, how do they remain relevant? How do they win? I mean, I have my ideas, but I want to hear yours.
I don't think that my ideas have changed. It's really strange because they haven't really evolved that much, and it's not because there hasn't been extraordinary technology and AI and all the things that are now, part of our daily lives. And yet at the same time, if you are a local human being, there's nothing that's ever going to change the fact that you need relationships to do business. And those relationships, while they can be shortcutted to a certain extent, having the right relationship that truly, and we can say this, but unless you do it, it doesn't matter. People will tell you, people want to work with who they know, like, and trust, and you have to provide value. But stop and think about what the value of being in a relationship with you is. That to me is one of the things I talk to loan officers about all the time. Tell me why I do business with you. Please do not say your service is great and you've got great rates. Please tell me why I should choose you over anyone else, right? When you start getting in relationships with people where your why is super forward and you have said to them, my job moving forward is to always know how to advise you on how to use your equity in the smartest way. I know where you're going. We've had a conversation about what the next 10, 20 years look like for you. I am an advisor in every sense of the same capacity as your financial advisor is. I'm just in charge of really knowing how to use your equity in your home and thinking about the future with you. And if you've kind of set that up and you have the right kind of marketing going out to them and you have the right kind of intelligence baked into your system, that's going to allow you to know when those events hit that you should be having conversations. And so I think you can win at the local level all day long. And I will say, we look at mortgage technology sometimes and we think like, oh, thumbs up, thumbs down, or this will be handy or not. But how much data we have compared to the real estate agents is extremely different. And if you can partner with those realtors in a real way where you are sharing this amazing tech and this amazing data, that makes you an unbeatable partner. And not a lot of loan officers are really pulling that in right now. And that's kind of the best advice I'm giving people is how are you showing how a combination of your skill set, kind of Redfin and Rocket, right? Those two things.
Right.
But at a local level, how are you showing up and what are you doing to create these relationships and this value moving forward?
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. What I've been just kind of netting it out with, like, hey, first of all, if you're a local referral based loan officer, and I know you align, you said something similar when we were prepping, is your biggest competition is not Rocket, it is
Mhm.
the top producers in your local market
Yeah.
that have Rocket proof themselves. And they do it by winning their database and winning locally. They're using technology, they're using MortgageCoach. We now have 80% of the top 25 purchase lenders in the country. They have
Wow.
MortgageCoach built into their tech stack.
Yeah.
And over 160 lenders have MortgageCoach built into their tech stack. Like now it's a question of, can you get all your loan officers to deliver advice with price? But that's your competition. You know, if you're listening to this, you've got to win locally. You got to win your database. And what are some Kelly Yale best practices for any executives that are listening to this, for any loan
Good.
officers that are listening? Just give us like a checklist of, I'm future proof, I'm rocket proof. You know, if you're doing X, Y, and Z.
The first thing is having a curated database. And when I say that to people, they often kind of don't know quite what I mean by that. And let me tell you what that means. We don't live in a day and age where you keep your database in an Excel spreadsheet or an old, CRM account that you keep, on the side from your company. We live in a world right now where your database can pave the road gold as long as you're willing to curate it. Curating a CRM means you have segments of people in there that you know their intention of buying. You have all your first time home buyers in a certain group. You've got all your move up buyers in a certain group. You know what these people are doing and you're anticipating their needs before anything else happens. I would strongly recommend segmenting your audience out and having customized and personalized messaging to each of those groups of people, because no one should ever speak to people the way we have in mortgage, right? If you look at mortgage marketing, it's all white people with white teeth, couples smiling on the front porch. Well, that's great, except for the fact that what's our biggest buying segment right now? Unmarried women. So when you have a strong businesswoman who wants to do a loan with you, and your first email is like, "I can't wait to work with you," smiling couple on the steps, you literally are not listening to your customer. And that is, it's never going to win moving forward. Personalized marketing is going to be everything. Because if I don't prove to you that I know you, then why wouldn't I go with Rocket? You
Hey,
want to,
real, real,
yeah,
real, real quick. I am almost feeling like personalized is an outdated term because I think so often people think of personalized, they think of, oh, their first name is in the email.
yeah,
And I think, and by the way, you could debatably say that is personalized marketing.
yeah.
And I think it's individualized. You know, like we need to like, and it's not only individualized by that person, but it's localized so that you're marketing to an individual in a way that has context and meaning, and it's hyper local. You're giving them as local as it can be. I'm not talking same like statewide data, not even necessarily
Yeah.
talking statewide. Like the more that you can be like, I know you and I know your zip code that you're in. Okay, now we're talking. You agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, when I had my own CRM, we had 40 some different campaigns in there. We had 3 first-time homebuyer campaigns, and people used to say like, "That's too many." And I'm like, "Oh no, I could have 8,
No,
9
that's
more."
not enough. That's
It's
not
not
enough.
enough.
Yeah.
And so now it's so funny because, yeah, to your point, right? How but for some reason people don't exactly build systems like this, right? And so in your system should be able to say, here's Kelly Yale. She sold her house in 282 28104 a year ago. She's been active on apps looking at houses. I talked to her this time. She's looking for a house here in South Park. Now, I understand how to sell her in South Park. Here's how to create an avatar of who this buyer is. Because if you're not creating an avatar for the person using that system, we're lost, right? Because we have to take all this great data and all of this information and we have to have it in one place so that we're able to say, I know you, I know how to market to you, and I know how to do this loan. Because it shouldn't be a question of like leads anymore. It should be like, how am I curating the relationships I have to do a loan in the next year or two with this human being? And when I say individualize is a great way to say that. I don't want anyone to ever think individualize means every single person needs their own thing. But if you think about like the general kind of groups of people you work with, you should be able to create systems that are going to allow you to use what you learn what you know, your own notes to personalize a journey to make sure that people feel heard and understood, and that you are such a personal connection to them that they wouldn't do business with something that doesn't have that personal connection.
Yeah, agreed. Well, we've done a couple things in what we call Mortgage Coach Next Generation. Have you seen the AI
I
total
not.
cost analysis?
No.
Well, check this out. So
Okay.
one of the things that well, the two things that people, if they ever complained about Mortgage Coach, they would say, "Oh, it's too much information." Like that's just too much information.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now you can go, if I'm going to live in the home for 5 years, what's the best option? You can completely individualize it. Which option has the lowest total cash to close? Whatever that consumer is thinking, they can interact with the total cost analysis with AI and get an answer.
Dave, that is so cool. I love that.
Yeah, and really giving them exactly what they want, how they want it. I could have said, "What's my equity in 23 months on option two?" Boom. AI will tell you, and then the loan officer knows what the consumer is thinking. And so, by the way, I do think we can give consumers, because that's another thing I would love to. So, by the way, you like that feature?
Oh, I love it. I would say, I mean, just because you know me and I say the true things and everything, right? I would have been one of the people who would have been overwhelmed by all the numbers because numbers aren't my skill set, right? But to be able to like look at that and say, like, what exactly does this mean? Because sometimes you're embarrassed to not know. Sometimes we're embarrassed to ask questions. It's the same thing we run into with loans. Like people don't want to share their credit score. People don't want to seem like they don't understand money, but a lot of times they don't. And so that's a really cool way to let them take that power into their hands and not have to feel strange to ask questions, and be able to play with that. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah. By the way, what does APR mean is like the number one most borrower
Yeah.
AI thing. So, questions that they don't want to act dumb, to your point. And then the other thing that we solve for is people would say, "Oh, it's too hard to learn," or it takes too much time. So now we're using data. Like, let's get
Yes.
to the consumer earlier. So without Trust Engine, you don't have as many people to talk to. And then we're using AI to create a Mortgage Coach TCA, and we've actually got it. I'm going to play a clip from our webinar last week where a TCA was created in like 47 seconds. And by the end of the year, AI will completely create the Mortgage Coach experience. So check this out and then tell me your thoughts. Oops.
What I'm going to do here today, I'm going to go for the world record with our new Mortgage Coach Next Gen presentation. I'm going to go to try to create the fastest Mortgage Coach presentation ever created using our app. All right,
Let's
guys,
go.
let's see how quickly we can do it. All right, start the timer and let's get ready to go.
So all on a mobile phone.
All right.
Pulls data from the
Importing a
phone.
contact. And we're going to do some different purchase prices here to show someone who might be shopping.
This could have already been
Wanted to
filled
put
out in some
20%
cases.
down. I'll throw in some closing costs. We'll go do an estimate of our monthly costs here.
This could have been filled out.
And then we're going to go add a second purchase price option. I'll redo the down payment. Everything copied over. And look at that. Done. We just did a TCA in 44 seconds for my buddy Justin here, who wanted to go look at a couple different purchase price options. We have this quick presentation showing him the difference in monthly savings and cash to close. Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl, right?
What do you think of that one?
Well, I mean, I think it's extraordinary the power that you give loan officers, right at their fingertips. And to your point, right, and how many, I mean, look, just so everyone on the call knows, I mean, one of the very first things that was important to me when I was building out a system was to automate TCAs, because loan officers were like, oh, I don't want to set one up for every person. And I was like, but like, look at it now. Look, you just put it one little, oh God, I'm super proud. And I mean, I'm on very much on record as obviously being sort of fangirls when it comes to you, when it comes to Rich Labarca and what what guys have been working on. I think it's the future of everything, of where we're going, especially from a borrower perspective, because you give so much value and you're looking at so many things that are so important to them. It's hard for me to imagine that that's not where we're going, right? Because that's how we're going to compete with these mega companies that have so much money, is if they have tools like this. If your loan officers have tools like this, they can compete, right? You got to make it easy for that borrower. You got to make it fast. You got to give them options.
I couldn't agree more. So let's just, I got two more questions. One, AI. What
Yeah.
what should, what are the minimum Kelly Yale standards for a loan officer and for a mortgage company when it comes to AI preparedness?
Boy, so I would say from the loan officer level, I just think that the most important thing that a loan officer can do in the next 6 months is really figure out what company you want to work for that genuinely has their eye on generative AI and really moving forward and understanding how to use data to help you succeed. And I'm not suggesting everybody move companies. I am just literally saying to you, I say it about myself all the time. You'll hear me on LinkedIn saying it constantly. If you find a mortgage company that wants to like super build for the future, work there. And then also call me, because I will work there too. I think that there are so many companies that are genuinely taking that next step. But I think for a loan officer, right? Everyone can use ChatGPT. Everyone can, there are some really, really, really cool ways that that a loan officer can use ChatGPT, but it's not necessarily like, it's so much smarter for you to work at a company that's putting the compliance down for all of these things, right? Because I can build you whatever you want. I can build you interactive calculators and buyer breadcrumbing and all these things. But if you have a mortgage company that is as obsessed with the future and with AI and with how to manufacture loans for less and how to give you a competitive advantage when it comes to all of the things that they do, right? Because right now, the sky is literally the limit as to how companies could use AI. How a mortgage company will and does use AI, I think, is the most interesting fact. I think from the top down, you have to have an absolute understanding of your business, period. And I think that's where AI is truly going to shine, if we can get more mortgage companies to say, I know how to make these decisions because I know my whole business backwards and forwards. And then how do we put that at the branch and loan officer level, so that branches can be very profitable once rates go down more, once we're starting to see our old life come back? How do I create a profitable branch based on real numbers? How do I, recruit really smart people in? But it's the promise of the mortgage company to the loan officer that I think is going to have to change in the next day, but technically 6, 8 months, as we're kind of ramping back up for 26. How important is it to them when they're talking about AI? Are they talking about like, oh, we've got this AI thing that we built, and like all the loan officers, like, I don't really see why this is a big deal? Or are they saying, we want to be able to apply technology to every facet of our business so that we can run leaner, meaner, smarter? And we want to show you how you can be part of creating that vision together. That would be a company I would work for.
Got it. So AI is the North Star. And by the way, agreed. We think you need the data, you need a next gen digital experience,
Yeah.
It's an AI infrastructure. And again, what you saw a minute ago in terms of how are we empowering the borrower with our digital presentation, that's like first base. How do we
Oh
use
yeah.
AI to transform the loan officer into a data-driven advisor so they go from LO? And how do we do that to accelerate that? What's, one of the things that's been really frustrating for me is I recently got a case study from Churchill Mortgage that had done a 18-month analysis, and the cohort of loan officers that didn't use MortgageCoach, 21% conversion rate. The cohort of loan officers that used MortgageCoach on, it looked like every credit report, almost every, 27% conversion. Like we're talking like an extra, if they had 100% of their credit reports with a MortgageCoach, it'd be like an extra 1,600 loans a year. And
Mhm.
it was also at like a 27 higher basis points. Now, one of the struggles I have is that like a lot of lenders can't calculate that very easily. They don't either have the business intelligence, or they're not able to do that. Have you seen any new technologies or any best practices in terms of just understanding the economics?
I'm not sure if you remember, you and I were always at Digital Mortgage, right?
Yeah.
Long before like people would go. And I remember there was one demo one time, it was called Jane AI.
Oh
And this was
yeah.
it was a million years ago, right? And they were on the stage doing it. We're all like, wait a second, you can ask this thing whatever you want and it'll tell you whatever you want about your business. But then they went away. And I remember being so enamored by,
I was wowed by
right?
that. Yeah.
And so I've actually been consulting with a company called Lamada, which it's funny because when you guys hired Rich, right? I just thought that was such a brilliant move to bring in somebody from outside of mortgage who understood sort of where technology was going. And Cully, who founded Lamada, is the same way. Worked at Salesforce forever, like just huge resume, but really wanted to solve the problem of business intelligence. And since I only speak in data and have tried to shove data down everybody's throats for as long as I can possibly remember. Now seeing data in practice has been, it's like beyond my wildest dreams, right? And to the points that we've been making this whole time when it comes to recruiting, or even when it comes to hiring, or when it comes to opening a new branch, a new brick and mortar, understanding, really your warehouse lines. It doesn't even matter. Lamada is able in like 48 hours to stand up the answers to almost any question you have about your business. And I would never have believed that had I not actually seen it. And so I watched them take an entire P&L of a business, $1 billion broker group, and we found so many different places where they just didn't understand their business. And it wasn't, it's not an I told you so thing. It's a discovery thing. It's like, hey, this is amazing. I didn't realize that this group in Florida was so in the red that this was happening. But when we asked it to solve the problem, we got great results. And so it's how AI is going to give you the tools to run your business. And it's the same with the individual loan officers, right? Like if you've got a great CRM and your CRM has some AI baked in and you're using Mortgage Coach and you've got this consumer experience that's data led, you're having different conversations and people trust you more because you got the data behind you. It's the same thing at the top level, which is like people who are using Domo or BI or whatever they're using. They have to pay for these reports and stuff. I don't want to do that. I want to sit down and I want to say, what if we did 3% more business in Texas this year? What does that look like to the bottom line? How do I spend my advertising dollars? How do I hire the right people? Do I need to have 10 people working in the CFO group, or can I have 3 people working in the CFO group? Because the hardest part about AI for humans is that it is going to be really good at replacing redundant human beings, right? And we're going to have to get to a place where we feel really comfortable with that, because we have to have business insights to make great business decisions. And it won't be reports anymore.
So you're saying this product you said you kind of started with how easy it was to set up. Is
Yeah.
it something that individual loan officers can have access to, or is it an enterprise only platform?
It is. So it's really used by the enterprise, but there are so many business insights that a loan officer can have that's absolutely super valuable to them as well. It's truly a top-down solution, but it's a very different conversation that we're starting to have. Back in the day when we had all the data because we had, CRM records, right? So we 10, I don't even remember how many at the end, but let's use 5 million as an example. So we have 5 million curated records here, but we had to build in anything we wanted to know about this group, right? We had to pull in workflows like this. If I was sitting with my CRM integrated with Lamada, I could say, how many people did we run credit on that we never move forward with? Why didn't we move forward with it? How many of these were under 580? What does that mean? What if we pushed out to these people? So when you start thinking about the business practices that you can understand better once you have all your data in one place, it to me, you were a disruptor, I was a disruptor. I haven't really been around much disruption in the last few years. But when I saw this, I was like, holy crap, if I could give people the keys to understand their business, I would love to do that. I'd love to be able to help people in a really meaningful way. So it got me excited.
Cool. Well, I am looking forward to checking that out more. What are the best places for anyone that's listening to this interview? They want to make sure they follow you. Where, either website, social media, what's the best way to stay tuned in to Kelly Yale?
Well, Kelly Yale has her own at Kelly Yale on every platform. That's what happens when you own one of the first social media marketing companies in the country. You just get your at on all things. And then, I'm a consultant with Octo Strategies, which is 8 amazing C-suite human beings who get together to solve company problems. And so that's a great way to find us as well. But I'm also always on LinkedIn talking about this or that.
So message her on LinkedIn, reach out to Kelly. She's incredible. Been a great friend. You've helped turn a lot of loan officers into mortgage coaches, and then you've always done just a great job of having a vision of whatever the modern mortgage advisor is. You're a great leader to make that happen. So thank you so much, Kelly. Everybody watch this. If you have not subscribed to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, hit subscribe right now. We are turning loan officers into mortgage coaches at scale. Like what used to take 5 minutes to create a mortgage coach experience takes less than a minute. And it's only a matter of time till literally it's completely automated. What lots of loan officers have said, oh, that's too much information for my customers. Well, now it's exactly what the customer wants. They can interact with AI. And then the way we're using data to create LO adoption, we're also using data to help you get to more people higher in the funnel. So check us out. Kelly, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, friend.
All right, this is a wrap. Take care, everybody.